All right, here we go. The Dreamchaser cycle. We're on some boats. We're going to get some boats in a lot of these quests, so let's talk about these ships. Actually, they're quite powerful, so you always get the Dreamchaser, super good stats, and then when you do a sailing test, it'll count as 2 characters. There's also the Dawn Star. That makes you raise your threat by 3, but you get to draw an additional card each round. There's also the Narlenia. This lets you reduce the cost of the first ally you play by 1. And then finally there's the Silver Wing, which makes you reduce your threat by 3, and your heroes get +1 to their attack. In a solo game, you always get the Dreamchaser, and you get to choose one of the other 3 to create your fleet. This cycle also introduces the sailing test mechanic. Sailing is a keyword that represents the players are currently traveling across the sea on their ships at the beginning of each quest phase. Before committing characters to the quest, if the main quest has the sailing keyword, the first player must perform a sailing test. Sailing test represents the player's ability to change their course and alter their sails and rigging in such a way to adapt to the changing winds. In order to perform a sailing test, you must first shift your heading off course. This represents the shifting of the winds and the difficulty of navigating at sea. Then, the player performing the sailing test exhausts any number of characters he controls, committing them to the sailing test. After choosing which characters to commit to the sailing test, that player looks at a number of cards from the top of the encounter deck equal to the total number of characters committed to the sailing test. If the encounter deck does not contain enough cards to look at, shuffle the encounter discard pile back into the encounter deck. First, some encounter cards have a helm symbol on the bottom left corner of the text box. This symbol represents a success when performing a sailing test. For each symbol found on the looked at encounter cards, you may shift your heading on course. If no symbols are found, your heading stays the same. Then discard all of the looked at cards. Players have the opportunity to take actions before and after a sailing test, but not during. So let's talk about these objective ships that we have. They're extremely powerful, but if they leave play, we're going to lose the game. They are not player cards. They are encounter cards. They're immune to player card effects, and they can only attack ship enemies. They also can only defend against attacks made by ship enemies. All right, let's look at the ship enemies. So ship enemies basically are enemies. You can attack them with characters. You can do damage to them. But they do have a few exemptions. So ship enemies are only going to attack your ships. So you only can defend a ship enemy with your ship, and then undefended ship attack damage must be assigned to a ship objective you control. So if you want to think about how the battle works, just think of 2 big ships out on the ocean. You got your ship sailing in, you got the enemy ship sailing in, and they're just going to be shooting at each other. So they can only attack each other, and they can only defend each other. You really think about it thematically, that makes sense. Like, you can't have a Squire of the Citadel as a chump blocker for a cannon attack. I mean, he's not going to stand in front of your boat and take a cannon. He's just going to get blasted out of there. So no chump blocking these big ship attacks. And speaking of these ships, when they engage you, they have the boarding keyword, so that will have a number after it, and then you're going to grab pirates from a special deck that now engage you and do terrible things to you. So in addition to having this big ship enemy engaged with you, you're also going to get engaged by a number of enemies. Alright, I hope you found this information useful, and let's get to those Dreamchaser videos. Bye-bye.